Where is that hammer? I can never find anything I'm looking for. Oh, there it is.
Over the course of my career, I've had many clients ask me to put a completed by date into their contract. I want to talk to you about why I never do it, why I think it's a terrible idea, and I want to try to give you some tips for the way that you can schedule and contract your next project. I'll see you in just a minute.
Hey, I'm Archie. I just moved here from Nebraska, and I'm just trying to meet some babes. But no, seriously, I do need a job pretty badly, sir.
Have you ever worked in the tech industry?
Well, I never...
Have any experience with service provider apps?
I mean, I could
Do
learn.
you have any qualifications at all to work here?
Honestly, I'm more of like a performance artist.
I think it's gonna be a no.
Oh, man, are you serious?
Yeah, it's pretty much a hard no.
Your loss.
So there's lots of contract resources you can get online, right? You can get generic contracts, you can find generic forms for services provided contracts, and you can use those for your clients for sure. But sometimes if the contract or the job scope gets too involved, the need to have a more specific contract arises. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the basic points in the contract, the nuts and bolts of it, what it does, and how you can use it to protect yourself from clients who would take advantage. And they're out there. I have found that there are just as many dirtbag clients as there are dirtbag contractors. I've certainly got into situations and scuffs with clients in the past, but a well-worded contract can help stave off a lot of those eventualities. So let's talk about the job scope. As it sits with me when I go to contract a specific project, like maybe I'm doing we'll use a project that I had last year as an example, an extension onto an existing home. We're going to take the back wall of the house, we're going to rip it off, we're going to extend a couple of bedrooms out into the backyard. But that's going to take a few different steps. Make sure you are as specific as you can possibly be about all of the steps that it's going to take to get from point A to point B. Often your permit will help you structure that with proper wordage. Remember, your permit and your contract need to be simpatico, okay? They need to work hand in hand, because on one hand, you've got a contract with the city, which is your permit. And on the other hand, you have a contract with the client, which is what typically they're going to refer to as the progress of this job unfolds. So if there's something like the demoing of a back wall, bring it out into the yard, build a new bedroom. So what's that going to take? It's going to take a new slab, or it's going to take a new foundation. It's going to take demolition of the back wall. It's going to take an extension of the roof line. It's going to take some drainage around the new foundation. It's going to take the window placements in the bedroom, of course. It's going to take some painting and siding, and all of these different miscellaneous tidbits. Be as specific as you can. You don't want to say we're going to build a bedroom in the backyard and all that would entail. There's too much freedom for interpretation when you do things like that. So spell it out to the letter. Your permit is also going to give you a clear direction on what you need to satisfy your inspections. And all you builders, all you contractors, you know this. Those permits are going to specify, and your mechanical engineer is going to specify the exact kind of nail, the exact kind of strap, the exact kind of shingle, the exact R value of your insulation. They're gonna specify all of this stuff. Okay? Don't be afraid to incorporate that into your contract. That's going to signal to your client that you know what you're doing. You're following the letter of the law as it pertains to the permit, and that inspection process is going to go better for everybody. What did I talk about in the opening of the show? That was the completed by date. Okay? I had a client come to me a couple of years ago and say, hey, when we do this, I want you to specify the exact day that you're going to be done with this project. And furthermore, if you're not done with the project by specified date, I want to hand a penalty back to you of $100 a day. Whoa, that's a lot. If you have been building for a while, you know that on any project, there's going to be unforeseen circumstances that are out of your control. Certainly, we all went through that during COVID. Permits were slowed up, if not just completely shut down. The permitting process, offices were closed, subcontractors were unavailable, materials prices went through the roof. We'll get back to that. So we all know beyond a shadow of a doubt that no matter what we do, there's going to be some unforeseen circumstances, and I will try to navigate those the best I can, but I'm certainly not going to bring a self-imposed penalty on myself. I'm certainly not going to place a penalty on myself for not meeting that deadline for you. And I get it. You moved out of the house. You're living in a hotel, or you're living in an apartment temporarily. I get it. You don't want to have the added costs of your rent increase beyond a completely necessary point, right? Duh. But also, you need to understand that this is your project. You decided to do the project, homeowner. You decided to incorporate this inconvenience into your life, and it will be. So let's not play gotcha with a contractor, and contractors don't fall for it. Ever do it. You're not a government employee. You're not building a highway. And if you do run into a situation where a client asks you to impose a completed date penalty on yourself, here's what you say. Especially if the negotiation has broken down, he's not going to move past this point. Here's what you say. Okay, well, what is the bonus clause that you would like me to apply for dates that I completed earlier than that specified completion point? What are you going to give me? Is there a bonus in it for me? And most of the time that's going to shut that conversation down, but you want to explain to that client to the best of your ability, listen, the reason that we don't sign completion dates, and I will do my damnedest to get your job done as quickly as we possibly can. But if there's a concrete strike or there's a pandemic, a global pandemic, I might not be able to make it. Sometimes shit happens on a project and it's out of my control. So respectfully, I'm going to decline to put in verbiage that penalizes me because the project took longer than you wanted it to take. I'll be right back. One of my pet peeves about contracting is I hate going back to a client and asking for more money. If there's not a significant change order request, I never do it. I try to never do it. I know my trade, I know my materials, I know my hourly, I know my profit margins, and I try to never give that client a cost increase if there's not a change order that's been requested. But let's talk about what happened in 2020 and 2021 and into 2022. Do you remember that? Yeah, I'm trying to block it too. So during the pandemic, all services were supposed to be shut down, and we had some projects that were mid, just going right along with the pandemic hand in hand. We were able to get some exceptions for these projects, and we kind of kept working through it. We had projects started and bid for new construction, and just as one single tiny example, the project was bid for, maybe there was 1,000 2x4s that needed to be purchased for one of the projects. Well, on one day, the price of that 2x4 here in Washington State was $3.49 on average, and it had been that average for years and years and years. To see a $4.50 price on a 2x4 was like, whoa, holy shit, are we out of trees? Then one day, the price of a single 2x4 jumped to almost $13 because of supply chain issues. Which I don't believe at all, by the way. I think it was all a corporate money grab, but that's a different podcast. So we're nuts deep in a project that we have to go buy materials for, but all of a sudden the supply chain has dictated that now we are triple the cost of what the bid was on this one basic component of the project. What do? When you're writing out your project and your scope, and believe me, this isn't something that I did before 2020. It was just never necessary. There was never a commodities fluctuation that was so radical that I couldn't write it out, that I couldn't just make it work. Maybe I eat a little bit in profit if that 2x4 goes up $1.50, or maybe I make a little bit more if it goes down 75 cents. Maybe. But this was one of the most radical commodities fluctuations, building materials commodities that I've ever seen in my career, if not the most. I had to go back to my clients, and luckily, just luckily, this was on the news every single night, this construction crisis and the commodities fluctuation and all these increases, and everybody was losing their asses, and you had contractors literally folding it up and going home and saying, F it, I'm not doing this job anymore, sorry about your contract, sue me. Well, that's not me, that's not us, that's not what we chose to do. We chose to write it out and make it work, and here's how we had to do that. Hello, sir. Listen, as you know, we have had some radical fluctuations in our commodities costs. So we documented the before, we documented the after, we documented the current commodity prices, and we brought them to our clients, and we said, listen, we've all got to work together in order to get this project done. I can't bankrupt my company to finish your project. I'm sorry, I can't. I won't. Thankfully, thank God, my clients all said, yes, absolutely, Jeff, let's talk about these price hikes. Let's get something hammered out. So I was able to incorporate an overage. I think we finally settled on 12%. A 12% emergency cost that I had to drop a separate clause in the contract for. Now, when I schedule projects, when I draw job scopes, when I write up the contract, I always put a clause in the contract that reflects that this cost is based on current commodities pricing effective through blah, blah, blah. And I give it a couple of months. So when the client reads that and they understand that they've got some time to get their deposit in, if their deposit isn't in and we can't buy those materials by that end date, those costs are subject to change. So incorporate some verbiage in your contract to guard against global pandemics, meteorites, alien spaceships. Stand by.
I am the most powerful being in the universe! You will all bow to me!
Well, that was weird. I think I have control issues.
So I'm a pretty nice guy. And I think my clients know that. I get along well with everybody and I'm pretty amenable. But I want to talk about something that can kill your profit margin and put you at risk for loss. And I call it the can you just. Jeff, you know, you're up there on the roof fixing it, and I've got this old satellite dish that's been up there forever. We don't use it. Can you just take that down for me while you're up there? Now, the nice guy in me is just saying in my head, oh, absolutely. Hell yeah. I'm up there already. You know, screw it. I'll take it down. No problem. Don't do it. And I'm going to tell you why. When you take that DirecTV dish off of the roof, it's mounted, right? It's mounted somehow to the roof. It's bolted in or screwed on, and you're gonna disturb the roof line. Now, what happens when that starts to leak? You own it. That's what happens. You just owned it. So I want to caution everybody, all you nice guys, and most of the contractors and service providers that I know are super cool. They want to do a great job for their clients. They're looking for that little bit of leverage that they can get for some good word of mouth, right? So I want to help you out, little old lady. I do. I want to help you. And I know it's just, can you just this and can you just that? Well, not only did I not get paid for that service or the materials that it may cost me, but now when the roof starts leaking where the DirecTV satellite was, who you're gonna call? You're gonna call Jeff, the nice guy, because he's the one that took it off of there. Can you justs are a pain in the butt. Can you justs are a temptation to us all because we all want to make the client happy, but I caution you against doing anything that's not in that original job scope. And put it to your client like this. Little old lady, I would love to do that for you, but I'm sorry, I can't. If there are complications, if I rip up a shingle, if I fall off the roof, if any of these things happen, then all of a sudden that became a liability to me. That repair, that can you just, is now my liability. And I may end up having to, having to own this problem for the foreseeable future. No can you justs. Which leads me into the next inevitable portion of your contract is the change order. Never has there been a project where the client didn't say, hey, you know what? I think I'd like to actually add this to this. I'd like to do this too, because when you start your project, when I start my project, I don't know what I don't know, but all of a sudden I'm seeing all these cool things and everything's evolving and it looks so badass and we should do this too. Yes, you want that extra work, but yes, you also want to make sure that it is documented to the letter. How much are they going to pay? How much more in materials, labor, debris disposal? Don't forget your debris disposal. Throwing shit away ain't free no more. Okay? Document every single change order in writing. You're going to look more professional to your client. You're going to look more professional on paper, and that job has a lot less likelihood to go sideways on you. You know, I hear this so much from young contractors and young business owners that they feel like presenting a firmly worded, solid contract to a client makes them kind of look like they're, you know, that they're kind of assholes, or they're kind of not amenable. They're really very strict, and they feel like that strongly worded contract is an insult to their client. So they try to keep it loose. They try to do the can you justs. They try to take the change orders by word of mouth. But that's not it at all. A strongly worded contract shows your client that you're not playing, that you know what you're doing. You've been through this before, and you know how to navigate the process of point A to point B. And chances are, regardless of what industry they're in, they have contracts in their lives. They sign contracts with their, you know, their mortgage company, and if they're an attorney, they'll know contracts very well. But the only thing that a succinctly worded contract does for you as the contractor is it makes you more legit. It makes that client feel better. Because even if there's not the wordage in there that says, hey, I'm going to complete this by such and such day, or I'm going to pay you $100, they know that you know your business. And that's going to bring them a lot more comfort than putting those weirdly phrased gotcha clauses in a contract ever could. I'm Jeff. I'm a builder. I'm a designer. I'm an independent construction consultant. And I have a resource you can use to find great professionals. It's called Build Up. The web address is www.buildup.media. You can post your DIY questions to one of our panels of experienced and excellent professionals. You can talk about your projects and make your referrals with your neighbors. And pros, you can post your availabilities and your specialties. You can brag a little bit about what you do, post pictures of your last project, and source your leads organically. Stop paying Thumbtack. Stop paying Thumbtack. I'll see you next time.
And this beauty here is the Juju machine. This is where we make all that good juju. Pretty much built that whole thing by myself. Oh geez. Do your dance, buddy. We get that reaction a lot.
Radical audio visual experience.